Man, the WNBA offseason is in full swing. We have another accomplishment, another achievement. Shout out to Caitlin Clark for being Time Magazine's 2024 Athlete of the Year for this prestigious award. But before we get off into today's podcast, tell a friend to tell a friend. Man, shout out to Caitlin Clark for becoming Time Magazine's 2024 Athlete of the Year. Now, this was well-deserved, a great accomplishment, and kudos to Caitlin Clark. Now, Caitlin Clark has had a very successful rookie campaign in the WNBA. Now, you know what she brought to the table coming out of college. She captivated her audience in college with the logo threes and breaking all the records. And she was the number one draft pick in the WNBA. Now, this comes off of a great rookie season where she was the rookie of the year, and she averaged 19.2 points a game, 5.7 rebounds, and also she tallied 8.4 assists, and also she turned the ball over 5.6, times a game. She actually averaged 1.3 steals, so she had a great rookie campaign, which rewarded her the WNBA Rookie of the Year, and we saw moments where she was the Caitlin Clark that everybody saw in college. Also, we saw her break the WNBA Women's Rookie assist mark. Also, she was the first person, WNBA rookie, to get a triple-double in a game. So kudos to Caitlin Clark. Job well done, well-deserved. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep elevating and keep pushing the envelope. Now, Time Magazine sat down and talked with Caitlin Clark, and Caitlin Clark had some things that, she wanted to address. Now, coming out of college, you played in the national championship game against Angel Reese, and what happened was Angel Reese did the can't see me, and the LSU Tigers went on to beat the Iowa Hawkeyes in that national championship, which crowned Angel Reese a national championship, and Caitlin Clark fell short. Then the next year, they ran it back in the semifinals. They knocked out LSU, and Caitlin Clark got her get back. But what happened was the media put Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese against everybody. And we like to say these Caitlin Clark fans, they created a narrative all over YouTube that Angel Reese was jealous of Caitlin Clark, and they was spinning their own narrative, anything that they could do to convince the people that Angel Reese was jealous of Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark is way more superior. Caitlin Clark is way more dominant. And we've seen what's happened in mainstream media and in the YouTube media space, where you have these YouTube content creators, such these Caitlin Clark, quote unquote, Clarkies. They spill their own narrative about the turmoil that's going on between Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark. Now, Angel Reese and her mother have come out plenty of times talking about the death threats and the personal stuff that the Caitlin Clarkies have spewed against them. And every time we used to talk about it, people be in the comments section talking about that's fake news. I don't see none of that. But it was a real thing. And Flajay Johnson, Angel Reese's ex-teammate, has came out as well on her podcast stating that the media has made Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese enemies. And we saw what Angel Reese did on her podcast unapologetically. Like I stated, I'm glad that Angel Reese has that platform so she can debunk majority of the false narratives out there. And she said her and Caitlin Clark been competing since high school. She has no problem with Caitlin Clark, and the media has really hyped this up to be a thing. And it's almost like we always talk about, you got to pick sides, but it's not. That's not the case, because both of these young ladies, Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark, are tremendous athletes. They're doing well for the WNBA. And there was this narrative coming in that Caitlin Clark was the only one that was growing the WNBA and things like that. And we heard what Angel Reese said early in the season. It's not just one person. She would like to say she had a part in that as well. And also Angel Reese said that, you know, all the athletes that came before her that's in the WNBA, they play a big part as well. Because we remember when Charles Barkley came out and said, y'all just need to be quiet. You know, Caitlin Clark is getting you guys charter flights and things like that from the arena. And everybody was making a big deal about Caitlin Clark is the only one selling out their home games, but there's 5 other WNBA teams that was also selling out their arenas, and Caitlin Clark didn't play with them teams. And then, you know, the viewership and all that. And it just became a thing that Caitlin Clark was doing all this herself, which is not the case. The case was that as a whole, the WNBA had a lot of eyes on them because of the rookie class that came out. You had Angel Reese, you had Caitlin Clark, you had Cameron Brink, you had Rakia Jackson, and so forth and so on. So you can't say that one person was just growing the W. And shout out to Caitlin Clark for finally addressing the situation at hand when it comes to the growing of the WNBA. And Caitlin Clark, in her Time magazine piece, she says some things that was very interesting. And also, she was asked about the relationship between her and Angel Reese. And it was very interesting what she said. If you want to catch that whole Time piece and that whole article, just go on Time magazine and you can read the whole article and you can get whatever you want out of this article. But I'm glad that Caitlin Clark came forth and said the things that she said. But this is very clear. This is some of the things she said when was asked about Angel Reese. Take a look. In the Time magazine, Caitlin Clark on Angel Reese. The only thing people cared about was the controversy that was really fabricated and made up. And then that has continued to be the case ever since. So I'm glad that she pointed that out. She's saying everything that's out there on the internet from these content creators, such as the Clarkies, that are out here creating their own narratives, trying to put Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark against each other. Caitlin Clark has finally came out and said all that was fabricated. So she's actually shutting down some of these Caitlin Clark YouTube content creators, which try to spill the narrative about what's going on between Angel and Caitlin. And then she addressed this. She said, Clark, cozant of the racial underpinning of her stardom. Listen what she said. I want to say I've earned every single thing, but as a white person, this is privilege, says Clark. A lot of those players in the league that have been really good have been black players. This league has kind of been built on them. The more we can appreciate that, highlight that, talk about that, and then continue to have brands and companies invest in those players that have made this league incredible, I think it's very important. I have to continue to try to change that. The more we can elevate black women, that's going to be a beautiful thing. That was well spoken by Caitlin Clark, and I'm glad that she addressed that. So, like I said, Caitlin Clark doesn't have a problem with nobody in the WNBA, and I don't think nobody has a problem with Caitlin Clark as well. And I'm glad that she took a stand and she came out and told her truth. And that's very important. Kudos to Caitlin Clark. Much respect. Continue to give Caitlin Clark and all these other players that you cheer for their flowers. So it's no reason to hate on Angel Reese, to big up Caitlin Clark, because Caitlin Clark has spoken. So you guys let me know what y'all think about today's podcast down in the comment sections. I see everybody in the comment section, #salute. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button so you know every time that Simply Ball drops another hot banger. And that's going to do it for today's episode. And we're going to catch you on the next one. Deuces.
Thanks for listening to the Simply Ball Dropping podcast. Be sure to subscribe, like, and share on all major platforms.
That's all, folks.